Mark?
Hello, everyone.
Intro?
Can we hear us?
Hello, world.
Yep.
All right, we're good. All right, I think we're live, guys. Jimmy, good to see you again. Good evening.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Kitchen Party. Mark?
Yeah, Mark Owens here. Obviously, go through the old usual.
And Jimmy Sheehan. And Mark, why don't you introduce our guest tonight?
Yeah, we got a good mixture of guests today. It's some may say it's an all-male show tonight, but there'll be a female slant to this at some point.
What do you mean, some might say?
Huh?
Some might.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to be neutral here. So we got Conor Boylan here from obviously from Kildare, but
On the Lilies.
it says no one in Cleveland ever. The owner of 5 Points Coffee and Tea in West Park, and Conor, welcome.
Thanks,
and then
guys.
we got Andrew McManus, singer songwriter from County Armagh City. Welcome, Andrew, and then all the way from Dublin, we get.
Oh, no, hold on, no, Mark, hold on. Tipperary.
I just
Mark's
wanted to make sure you were listening.
Already. 3 minutes, 3 seconds.
Debatable. It's pretty debatable.
Jacking you off.
Well,
All right, I was
born
born
there.
there.
Is Dublin, so you know anything.
I was
Anything
born
south
there.
of the borders is Dublin, right? Just making sure you're paying attention. That's all. No, Paul McAvinchey from Tipperary. So welcome, guys, and you know, I talked to Conor a few weeks ago. We did the show with Brendan and Deck, one of our Parnells, and you know, you guys were interested in getting on board here and just shooting the breeze and talking about a few things here and maybe a few songs later on from Andrew as well. And you know, so we'll kind of go around the horn here a little bit and just kind of learn a little bit with you guys. And there is one common feature here. Jimmy, you want to go there? And
Well, I'm the only Yank here. So I have 4 lads from Ireland. You're all greenhorns, and you all married Cleveland Irish girls, Irish American girls. So, oh my God,
Ooh.
my heart goes out to you because that's a tough breed right there.
Your
We
heart goes out to
we
who,
all
the
know
wives?
because we live with them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it is a unique breed. Four guys on one call, all married to Cleveland girls, so, and from Ireland, so yeah. But it's more about these 3 guys tonight, so.
My daughter suggested that you have all the women on the show next week, talking about how.
Oh, a bit of a reversal. Or you get the real stories, Dad.
Let's not do that.
I'll do
Consider
all
perspective.
these this week.
All right.
So I guess what we want to start with, I don't know who wants to go first, but we want your story. How did you immigrate to America? What made you want to come to America? Were you in love with the girl before you came here, or did you meet her here? Or, you know, tell us your life. What happened? Who wants to go first? A lot of fucking volunteers here.
You nominate me.
Paul's got his hand up.
Yeah.
You're going first, Paul.
I'll go.
Paul, you can go first.
Yeah. All right. So, 15 years ago in July, myself and my wife got married in St. Patrick's Church in Ohio City. So long time ago now. And we had met about 1.5 years prior to that in Ireland. She was coming over to study in Trinity College. And I remember getting an email saying that there was a Puerto Rican girl coming over to study in Ireland, and she needed somebody to show her around. And I don't think I was the only one who that email got to, but I was the first to respond. I was like, I'll take care of her. Don't you worry about it. I'll take care of her. Now, at the time, I had no idea where Puerto Rico was.
Or cared.
Somewhere in Spain or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's in Ibiza. It's off the coast of Ibiza.
I assumed it was somewhere.
Honeymoon in the sun.
exotic. Yeah. And so anyway, I went to the airport to pick her up. I remember making a little sign that said Becky on it with stars on it. And then out she came. And I think I might have been the first Irishman she saw. And we got married 1.5 years later, which was lovely. And so
Very good. She fell in love with the brogue, huh?
She didn't even hear me talk before she fell in love. No, she didn't even need to hear me talk. She was just was all my face.
Your charming good looks.
Yes,
Did
that's
she know
exactly.
you were from Dublin straight away, Paul, or how did she?
Oh,
All right.
Lord.
Can I add to that? Because Paul, he had a Christmas party there, and I met Becky's dad, Becky's father, and he told the story, and he said that when Rebecca was sending these emails out, she thought she was sending it to like a professor, some older gentleman who would like come and show her around and welcome her, and she had no idea that when Paul picked her up that he was this young, tall, this
Young
is
buck.
young, this young, handsome, swarthy lad, and she got a bit of a shock.
She did, I suppose. Yeah, her expectations were quite low at the time.
She was expecting some bearded professor.
Yeah, but well, we lived that's true. That's true. And we lived in Ireland for a few years, and then we moved to Germany for a little bit to start a company, and that didn't go so well for us. So we tried hard, but it didn't go so well for us. But we ran away to Chicago, where I had spent some time when I was younger, and we tried to make ourselves comfortable there and at home there. But as soon as my son Kieran was born, we realized that we needed a bit of help, and so that's when we moved to Cleveland about 8 years ago to be close to Becky's parents. And here we are, 8 years in, white picket fence and everything.
And now you own your own company too, right?
That's right. Yeah. So this is the logo. So I'm representing tonight. So we have a conference business. So we put on events in the U.S. in Cleveland every year in the fall. And then we do it in Ireland as well in the springtime. And so we've been doing that for about 6 years. It's going very well, and well, up until 2 months ago.
Yeah, but everyone in your family is healthy and everybody's happy.
Absolutely, we can't complain. We've been doing
very good.
We've been doing fine. You know, I have a 8-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl, and myself and Becky, we're all doing great. You couldn't be in a better place in this kind of environment than in Cleveland, especially for me in Sugar and Falls, being in the trees and the woods.
Right. So let me ask you this: how do you compare Cleveland to Ireland, and what social differences did you notice?
It's a different. The people are different. You know, it's. I don't know. It's hard to say because the people around here are very nice to us, and I've settled in very well and made a lot of friends locally. Right.
Sugar and Falls is a beautiful community.
Lovely community. But I think it'd be the same if I was anywhere. You know, I'm not familiar with a lot of stuff that happens here in America. I am more now, but like the sports and the politics, I suppose, and other things that you have to kind of get very familiar with before you can have a decent conversation with some people, you know.
That reminds me of a story I want to bring up when we do Mark's interview.
Yeah, okay.
His very first Browns game. So.
Tonight's not about me, Jimmy, though. We can do that another day.
Well, you know, but you're part of the show too, because
I barely remember that story.
You're part of this group. I mean, you were a lad who immigrated here, and you married a Cleveland girl. So
people have heard enough from me for years.
Unfortunately, you're part of you're part of this shit show.
Speaking of shit show, Conor Boylan. You're up next.
What's going on, Conor?
What's the question again? But something about the weather, or was it? It's very hot, isn't it?
Yeah. How you met your wife and how you came to America and all that stuff. What got you here, I guess.
Yeah. So I was over. My background is engineering, and I was working for Intel, a semiconductor company back in Ireland, and they sent me over to Phoenix, Arizona, to do a bit of training. And one weekend, I took a trip up to Las Vegas, and Vegas, having a good time. And my Nora, my future wife, my current wife, was there at a wedding, and we met, and we struck up a conversation, and we said we'd continue to remain pen pals, shall we say, We end up doing the long distance thing. I went back to Ireland after the training, and we did long distance thing for about 2 years. So she was living in
Wow.
Seattle at the time. So she wasn't even living in Cleveland. She was living in Seattle at the time. Over and back to Seattle, long old flight. And I put in for a work transfer to the US because Intel have a facility in Portland, Oregon, which is about 3 hours drive from Seattle. So I managed to worm my way over here on an L visa, I think they call it, intercompany visa, to get over here. So I came over here in 2006. So we met in 2004, moved to the US in 2006, got married in 2008. I lived in Portland for a bit. We got married. I moved up to Seattle. We moved to Chicago because of Nora's work. Chicago was a great experience, kind of like Paul's. Obviously, Paul was living there probably around the same time we were there, but we didn't know each other. Met a lot of, the West Coast, not as much Irish there. Chicago, full of them, I think, as we all know. So it was great. There's even like lads from my hometown in Chicago. So I think we were there for about 4 years. And then we moved to Cleveland. So Nora is originally from the Cleveland area, as we said. So we moved here about 4 years ago, I believe. And it was kind of hard because I was like, Cleveland, I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of, I kind of figured out there was a lot of older Irish here, who would have came over in the 60s, like in the steel manufacturing days, car manufacturing days, etc. But I was worried there wasn't as many newer Irish, shall we say, rough people at my own age. I did a little bit of a Google search one time, and Paul's details actually came up. He was profiled, I think, in some magazine. It was Cleveland.com or one of them, about the work that he was doing on the product side. So I found his Twitter handle, sent him an old tweet, and we arranged to meet up for a pint in Ohio City one Friday evening. I think it was in January because it was cold. And we had a couple of pints, and we struck up a friendship. And that's basically how I became into the States. We bought a house in West Park, and having lived on the West Coast of Chicago and down here, it's a very West Park, West Side Irish, a very tight-knit Irish community. So it's almost like, in some ways, like older Irish like traditions last longer here. People are very tied in with their church, their schools, and stuff like that. So there's something to be really said for that. So it's a tight bond here. That's we still have it in Ireland, but this is like, this kind of is an important bond that really ties people together here in Cleveland. So I've obviously fitted in really well here. So that's kind of my journey, how I got here.
The West Park Irish community is a very, very, it's a very particular Irish community. It's very loyal to each other, and the church, everything there, the Cam's Corner area. It's a different. There's Irish communities around the area. The Cam's Corner, I mean, it's known as the Irish community in the West Side. So it's,
well, you can actually track me being a Clevelander, and my family came over in 1850. My great grandfather met my great grandmother. She was from Cork. She was in Ahern, and he was a Sheehan. They met on the way over here, and they ended up marrying and moving to Cleveland, and been here ever since and set down the roots here. But you can actually track the difference between the East Side Irish, the West Side Irish, which you guys obviously are you've been here a while, it was, the reason why was there was two separate bishops, because the east side of the river there were no bridges over. That was Cleveland, and we were actually Ohio City on the west side. So the bishop on the east side told them to assimilate themselves, blend in with the Protestants, and don't show your ethnicity. Whereas the Irish bishop on the west side said, celebrate your ethnicity. So you can track from all the churches they built all the way out to the outer ring suburbs. And that's why West Park would just seem to be a big conclave of Irish, and still is. I mean, we're third generation here now. And I lived in West Park for 18 years. I just recently moved out 9 years ago. But, and it's going further now too. I mean, like I'm in North Ridgeville, Olmsted Falls, Olmsted Township. There's a lot of Irish out there. And even all the way up to the islands where Mark is right now. But so I mean, it's great to hear that. Now, Conor, you own the coffee shop. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so when we moved down, Nora and I are big coffee drinkers. So, like, having lived in Seattle, places like that, we kind of, it was more of a hobby. We, whenever we go, like, traveling around, checking out different neighborhoods of different cities, we'd check out different coffee shops. So we kind of had an idea in our head, a dream more than anything that, it would be nice to own a coffee shop one day. One of the first things I noticed when I moved to Cleveland from Chicago was how cheap it is here. It's a very affordable city. You can live very comfortably here.
Right.
And so that kind of opened up a little bit it gave us a bit of an opening because we moved down here. Nora was, so she's a lawyer. She's working for her the family business down in Medina. So, she was kind of like nicely settled up here, in terms of employment and that. So I had to figure out my employment, whether I go back into engineering or whatever. So one night, we quickly figured out there was no coffee shop in West Park. There's a couple. Don't get me wrong. There's a couple of coffee shops. There wasn't one kind of filling that niche that we wanted. A neighborhood coffee shop kind of nestled in a neighborhood. So we used to always go over to Lakewood, places like the Root and that, to get our coffee. And one night we were out on a walk at the 5 Points intersection, West 159th and West Park Road. And this building was just like sitting there, covered in ivy, obviously vacant, kind of an unusual five-sided building, right? Yeah, just kind of like, what was the history of that? Like, it was just like, how, like, what's this like? And just it kind of like opened up. We were kind of wondering, like, what's the deal with it? So we did a bit of sleuthing anyway, and we found out the owners. It was actually 3 firefighters who owned it, and we sent them a letter and kind of went from there. And we ended up buying the building in 2016. Spending about a year doing it up because it was in pretty bad shape. Good bones, shall we say, but the inside was in pretty bad shape.
Right.
So
it had been vacant the whole time I lived in West Park.
It was vacant for probably about at least, a long number of years. Yeah, it's debatable how long, but it was definitely just vacant. It had been used for office space. Like, the history of the building is quite interesting. There was a barber shop there at one stage. There was a sweet store. There was an ice skate sharpening for ice skates. All sorts of like little businesses kind of came and went there. A moving company. So it kind of had this kind of rich history of the area, and the whole 5 Points intersection was kind of like the neighborhood within the neighborhood. So across the street, that it's a kind of a church there right now that nobody ever goes in or out of. But anyway, there was a butcher there at one stage, and then there was Monzo's, which was like kind of a general store. So before cars and stuff like that, this was like 5 Points was a neighborhood. So
I do remember the butcher shop years ago was there.
Yeah. Schneid's Meats or one of them, I think it was called, or something. So, we've been open be 3 years now this summer, and things are going great. Again, it's, the neighborhood. When we talk about COVID and, coming out of COVID and stuff like that, people have been really obviously supporting small businesses. I think, like, there's been a real push that people understand the need to support small businesses because we need them to survive, thrive. The one thing I noticed, like, opening up in West Park was like the support of local businesses was stunning. Like, people really do want. There's a real thirst for small businesses in the neighborhood. So it's been great. People love it. People have been great. So we're having a good time, and it's going. And we're back open again after the pandemic.
It's a great spot to go for a cup of coffee and some scones and whatever else. There's a lot of different breads and stuff there, so it's a great little spot if people get a chance to stop by there. So
scones, I'm gonna have to take Sheila there because that's her favorite thing is scones. But we would love in the future to do a live podcast from your place if you're so.
Oh my God, yeah, that would be fantastic.
I would love to sit down and do this again with you lads when we can all do this and be face to face, but unfortunately right now we're doing Zoom.
2023, 24 maybe, who knows.
So as soon as we can, we'll do it. But no, that's a great story, and I love that you have a great area. I know the building well, I know the neighborhood well. I lived there 18 years. It's a fantastic spot, and I've heard nothing but good things about your establishment, and I know the community appreciates you. And West Park West Parkers are very loyal, and so I'm sure now that you're back open, they'll do their part to come in and support you. Now,
And Jimmy,
we'll
to
move on
connect,
to. I'm
I was
sorry.
just going to say, to connect the dots between me and Andy, really briefly, like again, it's a place where relationships are forged, and I've met a lot of Irish people through the coffee shop who've come to the coffee shop, you know, in the city, and it's surprising how many younger Irish people there are in Cleveland. We don't connect the way we connect more virtually. Maybe we don't connect the way traditionally at dances and, you know, churches and, you know, Irish, you know, dance halls and stuff like that. You know,
Right.
I think we're a little bit more scattered. So, you know, I was lucky enough to meet Andy the very first day we opened. Andy showed up, and maybe
Right.
I'll let Andy kind of take
There's
it
a
from there.
lot
But
of
that's how, you know, relationships are forged.
yeah, right. There's a lot of younger Irish in Cleveland. It's just that you got to be in the right environment to meet them, or do it through online now. You know, like you guys, you and Paul hooked up like that, and that's great. Hats off to you. Andy, I've
Tinder,
had the
wasn't it called?
pleasure of hearing you sing twice before. The first time was at the CPPA Hall, and Megan McConnelly is a good friend of ours. We've known Megan for years, and she recommended you, and we were there one night, and she's like, "Oh my God, this guy's fantastic." So I've been following you doing your Facebook stuff and, you know, your Facebook lives during this COVID thing. So tell us your story.
Yeah, it goes back now quite a bit. Usually when people ask this question, my wife is with me, and I just let her tell the story. 'Cause, she tells it
You don't want to be wrong,
better.
right?
Very
I usually
smart.
go off on tangents, and it ends up it goes all over the place. But I'll give you like the abridged version. So Catherine, my wife Catherine, she's from the east side, from Willowick, just by the lake in Cleveland, and we first connected back. God, it could be like 2005. And this was on, I don't know if you remember a thing called MySpace. Like, we're streaming on Facebook now, but long before that, there were things like Bebo and
I'm on your age
MySpace.
now, Andy.
And anyway,
Yeah,
it
he is.
just goes way back. So I set up my MySpace page like almost like a little art website, because I was selling little art things like Celtic designs and glass paintings and things. So I set it up, and for almost like a little website for that. So Catherine, she had hers set up like for her artwork as well, and her photography. So we connected through that, almost like a little art forum thing that was on MySpace. So we were just MySpace friends for years. Didn't get to know each other too well or anything, but I was working in Ireland as an architect. I'm an architect for my main full-time career, and the recession hit, and I moved over to London because things were I was working in Dungannon in County Tyrone, a little firm. They weren't getting much work, so I moved over to London, and got a job. And before I even had a year in at that job in London, the recession hit again. It was like the double dip, if you remember. Everybody was banging on about the double dip recession. Mm-hmm. So they let everybody off in London in my firm. So I went back to Ireland, and I didn't know what I was doing. There was no work. I was 30 at the time, and just looking online, I somehow happened upon the New Zealand working holiday visa, and the cutoff date for that was 31. So I thought, I realized if I applied, I think it was pretty much that day that I would have enough time to maybe get accepted for it or get it approved. So I got the visa. There was no work in Ireland or England for architects. So I just thought I'll hop off to New Zealand and just backpacked my way around the world. It ended up being fantastic. But halfway through the year, I knew I had to come home to Ireland for my sister's wedding. But when I was in New Zealand, Catherine, she emailed me and said she would love to travel to Ireland and England, and she was reaching out to different people who lived in the UK and Ireland just for places feelers for places to go and visit. And I wrote back to her, I said, I'm no use to you at all because I'm in New Zealand. So it wasn't, I thought this, sorry, I can't help you. It would be great. I wish I was at home, but because I surely would show you around. So a few months later, she put up on Facebook or something that the date she was going, and it just happened that it was the week that I was going to be back in Ireland for my sister's wedding. So I told her, yeah, I can meet. It was, yeah, maybe. So I got back to Ireland. The next day, she arrived. I picked her up at the airport. I dropped her off at her hotel. And the next day, it was my sister's wedding. So she didn't really have anything to do, and I was to be shorting around. So I just said, look, come to the wedding. So the next day, after meeting her in person, she was at my sister's wedding, getting to experience an Irish wedding. And the whole time at the wedding, like my cousins and everything were saying, so this is your girlfriend? And I was like, no, this is just a friend. And they were, they were winking at me, and like, yeah, right, Andy, sure. So she was
just a
meant to then
friend.
head on to England to see her cousin. Just a friend, yeah. They were, yeah, right, Andy, yeah, wink, wink. So she was meant to go on to London, but it just happened at that time. I don't know if you remember, in 2011 there were riots in London. It was to do with like the 1%ers and inequality in pay and everything. So there was actually a riot in London, and her cousin told her, "Don't come to London. If you're safe where you are in Ireland, stay there. You're better to stay there." So she ended up extending her stay. She was able to stay with my parents. We got to know each other better, and yeah, grew very fond of her. We shared a lot of interests. Got to show her around a bit of Ireland, and then off she went back to Cleveland, and I went back to New Zealand. So I didn't know what the future was going to hold for me. I thought maybe I'd be in New Zealand forever if I got a job. I ended up working in Christchurch in New Zealand. That was it was destroyed with earthquakes. So I got a job on demolition sites, and I thought if I hang around here long enough, they'll be rebuilding. I maybe get a job as an architect, but it looked like those earthquakes the aftershocks were just happening. They kept going month after month, and I thought I'll be hanging around here a bit too long to make it worth my while. So when my year ended, I went back to Ireland, and by this stage we had just a long distance back and forth, and we're on Skype a lot. Thank God Skype existed, because otherwise the phone bills would have been through the roof.
As bad as Skype was, it was a way to communicate.
As bad as Skype, yeah, it was awful. And where I was, the internet was terrible, and the time difference and everything, it was tricky. But thank God it existed. So then I went over to Cleveland. She came over to Ireland, bit of back and forth, and got to know each other more. And then eventually she decided to come over to Ireland, and we lived in Portrush up on the north coast for a number of months. And I hadn't got a job yet, so I didn't know what I was going to do. We were doing little art fairs, little craft fairs around the north coast, like in Portrush and Coleraine and different little towns. Portstewart, yep, up around there. And we lived it was idyllic, up in Portrush by the sea, close to Dunluce Castle. It was great, but I didn't have the work. So I was just, all the while I was sending out emails to firms, and eventually got accepted to got an interview for a place in Cornwall in England. So I moved over there. I worked there for a couple of years, and then got another job in Devon. So we lived in the southwest of England for a few years, for like 4 or 5 years. And at that point, we were close to Ireland, but we were still like an airplane ride away from my family and a big airplane, journey away from Catherine's family. So after her, sacrificing a lot to come over to Ireland and England for years, we decided we'll have to go one place or the other. So I was excited for the idea to move to the US, and I had no idea what was in store for me. I knew nothing really about Cleveland except being there for short little holidays. I'd seen Chagrin Falls and places like that. But we decided that it was maybe my turn to compromise, and I was excited about it anyway. So we decided that we'd get married. We got married in Ireland in 2013, and then I think it was 4 years ago we moved out to Cleveland, and set roots here, and we're living here in Brecksville, and luckily it made the move very easy because I was able to secure a job in a firm here called Bialowski.
Very familiar with
Cleveland.
Them.
Pardon?
I'm very familiar with them. I do construction management, so yeah, I've heard of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sure you have. They do a lot of big projects here.
Right.
So whenever I was moving over, I was doing research about Cleveland, and I could tell there seemed to be I heard all about the downfall a few decades ago when things,
when the river caught on fire.
I've seen better days. When the river caught on fire.
It's a lot better city now. It's a travel destination now for culinary experiences. I mean, and thank God for guys like Michael Simon, and other Boylan. We have some phenomenal chefs in here, and they really brought, with the restaurateurs and stuff, and hopefully, God, they're all healthy and they survive. But that really brought Cleveland as a destination, and the microbrews, Great Lakes, and it was one of the first ones. Now they're part of my good friend Luke Purcell. He's at Collision Bend. It's just becoming a travel destination for people for culinary and beer tours and stuff. And I love to see that because it's a great city. I grew up in this city. I love this city.
Yeah, LeBron's rise was beginning to rise when I first arrived. So I'm not quite sure if I can attribute Cleveland's rise to LeBron's career.
I'm sure it's all because of you.
I'm here myself.
Paul, I'm already claiming the
I think that you could be
Cavaliers
on something
victory.
there, Paul.
It might be the four of us together, maybe.
Irish.
There could be a bit of that. Although my dad takes claim for he was here during the Cavs win, and he left Cleveland the night that we lost Game 7 of the World Series when the Indians lost the World Series. So he claims he's the real lucky charm.
My father-in-law is attributing the Cavaliers' success back then to me, and I'm going to claim it. I literally just arrived, and I saw I knew LeBron was back and everything, but my father-in-law's a big sports fan, and he told me all the stories of the misses and the fumbles and the
drive,
all the close calls.
Right,
Red 88, the fumble, the drive. Yeah, it's a sad story in Cleveland sports history.
It's funny. I was here living.
We're very loyal fans.
I was in an airport, a Dublin airport, in a hotel room that night, watching it on my iPhone. We were flying back that next morning, so we missed it. But we were watching it in a four of us were on the phone about 3 a.m. in Ireland, watching probably 4 a.m. actually watching the final shot. So it's So it's, you always remember where you were when you're watching it. So I'm just wondering now. Obviously, you're a lot of people will know you for your singing and your songwriting in Cleveland. And maybe can we request a tune or two from you, maybe, since you have I see a microphone in front, I see an instrument behind you, and it'd be rude of us not to ask,
I've no excuses, really.
No excuses.
Only if Conor and I can play a song afterwards.
Yeah,
sure,
okay.
Absolutely.
We can take a commercial break then. Yeah, go ahead.
So before I play, I'll say I'll add on to what Conor was saying, because I really wasn't, I wouldn't have called myself a singer-songwriter before I actually came here. I used to play when I was living in London, I played in a little wine bar, and I played in open mics and things like that. But I came over here, and I had my guitar with me, and I just as a hobby, as a passion. I had no intention of really playing a lot, to the extent that I am. But one of Catherine's, my wife's friends, Melanie, who worked for the Calms Corner Development Group, she knew Conor, and she said, "Look, this guy is opening a coffee shop. He's Irish fella. I think you should go to the opening, and Andy can meet him." So I went. I got talking to Conor, clicked with him. And somehow, I think my wife let slip or something that I play a bit of music. So Conor said, so "Why don't you bring your guitar along and just play in the coffee shop, a bit of live music?"
Very good.
So yeah, I did. I just got playing more. And I think it was maybe the second time I was playing there. A fellow sitting in the corner. I didn't know who he was at the time, but it turned out he was John O'Brien Jr.
Magazine,
the magazine, and at that time, along with his father, he organised he set up the festival.
Right.
So he said to me at the end,
Cleveland Irish Cultural Festival.
The Cleveland Irish Cultural Festival, and he said, "Would you like to play at the festival?" So I was like, "Yeah, okay." I had no idea it was the Cleveland Irish Cultural Festival. I thought it was some small little town fesh thing. So I agreed to it, and then when I found out what it was, because I'd actually been to it, Catherine had brought me to it earlier that year, and I thought it was incredible. And it was at that I realised this massive Irish community, it's so tight knit, and this big festival. So when I realised it was that festival, I realised I better get out and practice and start playing.
Yeah.
And then I ended up what it turned out now is that I'm playing around a whole bunch of Irish pubs and clubs, and but still still playing at the coffee shop every few Saturdays, and I will be again once all this is over. This lockdown.
Well, I loved hearing you the 2 times I've seen you, and I'd love to hear you play now.
Okay, sure. I was thinking, and please let me know if the sound's okay. Recently,
you sound great.
Thank you. So I was working out a song. It's like a Northern Irish song, and it's a song about the banks of Loch Ness, where my parents, my mother and her side of the family are from, Derrylaughlin and in County Tyrone. So I thought it's a nice song. And I think that there's a little mention of Derry in it as well, so Mark might like that. And there's actually
I should cry.
Hopefully for the right reasons. But and there's also I looked up the original words for it. It's a very old song, because I knew it from a singer called Cara Dillon. But when I found the old songs of it, the old lyrics, there goes, I don't know how long, I don't even know who wrote it. It goes many years back. They also mention the Ohio River in it, so I thought I'll give this a go.
Well, that's cool. You got a Derry connection, an Ohio connection.
Derry, yep, and Ohio, and a little bit of Loch Ness. So it's called The Turn and the Swallow. And I'm just working it out, so I'll give it a go. Is the volume okay?
Perfect.
When the cuckoo is calling over woodland and valley, and the tern and the swallow flies over our bay, 'tis longing I'll be for the land of my father, where Bann and Blackwater sweep down to Loch Ness. A home I have made in this land of the stranger, and many long years since I left Derry Quay. And I dream of the blue moon and the glens of old Ireland, where Ban and Blackwater sweep down to Lough Neagh. Grand is the Rio and fast the Ohio, and wide the Missouri, if mention I may. For an urge makes me follow the Tern and the Swallow, where Ban and Blackwater sweep down to Lough Neagh. But soon I must start, and this my last journey, for my eyes they grow dim and my hair sparse and grey. All I want is a cairn in the land of my father, where Ban and Blackwater sweep down to Lough Neagh. Goodbye to the Rio, farewell the Ohio, likewise the Missouri, so far, far away. For soon I must follow the Tern and the Swallow, where Ban and Blackwater sweep down to Lough Neagh. For soon I must follow the Tern and the Swallow, where Ban and Blackwater sweep down to Lough Neagh.
Beautiful. Yeah, so much of our culture is enshrined around music, and that was a gorgeous song from what your hometown in incorporating Ohio, and thank you for that.
Thank you.
Would you like to do one more?
Lough Neagh, Jimmy, just real quick, Lough Neagh too. It's pretty, for those that don't know, I think it's the largest freshwater lake in the British Isles.
Really?
If not, yeah, it's one of, I always remember growing up as a kid, I always had a fear of going there because it's very famous for eel fishing.
Eels, yeah.
It supplies a lot of restaurants around Europe with eels. And anytime I went there, if we ever stopped there for whatever reason, I always had this fear of, we would go fishing and you always, nothing worse than catching an eel. It'll tangle up your line.
I caught an eel when I was in Ireland, and we specifically targeted eels. And
they tangle up everything.
They're slimy little bastards, man.
Yeah, they are.
But it was a great experience for me. But
yeah.
No, that's cool.
What's worse than the eels are the flies, the midges in the summer.
Yeah, around that area, all the marshland.
I'd go to visit my granny and my cousins there, and if you're on your bike in the summer, you'd have to close your eyes and your mouth, and when you're cycling through a big cloud of midges.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Lake Erie in the summer. You get the
there you go, the mayflies, whatever.
Yeah, well, right now we got the Canadian soldiers, the midges, and in a couple of weeks we can expect the mayflies. So
yeah, it changed the tune a little bit, but I discovered that Andy and I had another connection after we had arrived here. His co-worker, he turned to him one day and said, I know somebody in Sugar and Falls, an Irish guy. Paul McAvinchey is his name, and his friend Nick said, "Oh, he's my neighbor." So we're next door neighbors with him, and that's not it. We also discovered that Andrew grew up being taught by the only other Paul McAvinchey I think that exists in the whole world. My dad's first cousin. His name is Paul McAvinchey. And as I understand, he was a fairly influential teacher for Andy growing up.
Yeah.
And so it's mad. It's just, not only did he know, was I, next door neighbors with his coworker, but we had that Paul McAvinchey reference as well. It's cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. The 6 degrees of separation really brought it home, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are 3,000 miles from
world.
home, and you still have that connections. So I would like to move on,
and actually,
because
whenever
we do have our fourth Irish immigrant.
Oh, we're
And I
running
know
out of time.
Mark doesn't. Yeah, no,
Put him on the hot
you're not
spot.
getting out of this. Tell us your whole story, Mark.
Jeez. I mean, I'll keep it very short because I want to hear Andrew sing another song.
Well,
And,
we'll get to that.
Yeah, just being sensitive to time here as well. So that's me getting out of this.
You're not getting out of it.
I've been here. I mean, for those that know me, I've been in Cleveland just over 20 years. Went to John Carroll on a scholarship back in the late 90s. It was through a peace initiative for George Clinton, or Bill Clinton and George Mitchell. It was a scholarship program through Invest Northern Ireland, that kind of stuff. And I went to John Carroll. Picked Cleveland because I thought Cleveland there was no Irish here. I thought I'd go somewhere. So I picked Cleveland because I thought there wasn't any Irish here and I wanted to go somewhere different. I had opportunities to go to Boston, New Jersey, and Chicago, and Cleveland. I picked Cleveland. And yeah, so that was that. And here I am 20 years later, deeply involved in all things Irish for the most part. Met Maria, my wife, 2001, playing Gaelic football in Detroit at a 7-a-side tournament. Offered some coaching tips, as you do. I feel bad, Conor. You might feel bad. I didn't meet her at an airport, so I didn't pick up at an airport for our first ever date. So it's that seems to be the way for Paul and Andrew, anyhow. So
It's a grand place to hang out, I tell you.
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah. So
Mark, the door just walked in the door a few minutes ago, so she's nodding her head right now, going, "Jesus Christ, what are you telling them?" The lies are coming out. So we definitely need to get the women on next week. Just get them on next week.
I think that's
All
a great
suggested.
idea.
We can do that.
Yeah, I met Maria. We got married. We got actually engaged in Donegal and Green and Fort in 01 or 02, and then we got married in 04. Jimmy was actually our best man. And, fast forward, 16 years later, 2 kids, Eamon and Lily, 11 and 12. And, so we're Cleveland's, Rocky River's our home, Cleveland's our home. And it's, I wouldn't have it any other people on it. It's funny, I work for an Irish company, so I work for Relate Care, who's headquartered in Waterford, Ireland. So, I get the novelty of working with, the people I work with on a day-to-day basis are pretty much all Irish people on our calls, or Zoom calls these days. And so it's kind of funny how, my life has come full circle, come to America, and then finally work for an Irish company in Cleveland. Our U.S. headquarters are Cleveland. So, so that's me.
And hats off to you, Mark, because I don't know anybody, don't know many people who are of our age generation really making an effort to connect Irish people in the city. Yeah. As Conor says, there's an old school Irish community here, and we do try and connect to it, and it's there for us, and it has always been there for us. But there's an opportunity to connect younger people in Cleveland, and you're doing a great job there.
Yeah, we do that. We have the Irish Network in Cleveland. Obviously, it's a little networking group. We're part of the grand Irish Network USA, and we liaise a lot with the Irish consulate in Chicago and the Irish embassy in DC, and we try and bring as many of those folks into Cleveland. I love showing off Cleveland to the Irish people. I love bringing them here and showing them, what Cleveland has to offer, and the big Irish community. Take the cultural gardens. Anytime I bring someone to Cleveland, be it like a few months ago, we had the American Chamber of Commerce here, and some dignitaries from the Irish government, and the one place I took them was the Irish Cultural Gardens, because it is a gem that. It's amazing how many Irish haven't been there that live in Cleveland. And it's one of that's a secret that people need to go see. That's when I go there, it's just great to be there. And, so anyway, enough about me. And that's my short story. Thanks, Jimmy, for that. And I will.
Well, I would like to bring one story into it. I met Mark when he was over here at
only one.
John Carroll. And so we were doing an Irish radio show out of John Carroll, and that's when we met Mark and we got involved and we become friends. And Mark went to his first American football game. And it happened to be what? Mark, take over, I think, this story now?
This was, Clevelanders will know Bottlegate. And that was the Cleveland Browns, the infamous game where I don't actually remember what happened, but it was, I think it was against Jacksonville even. And there was a bad call on the field. The game was called early. The fans started throwing bottles on the pitch. And that's back then when you were allowed screw tops still on the bottle. But you would buy a bottle of beer in the stadium and they wouldn't take the top off. Now they could take the top off, and it makes it hard to sneak in bottles. So people are throwing full bottles of beer down. I'm catching the bottles of beer. They're coming down from above. So I'm there with Seamus Goggin. A lot of you might know Seamus from West Park. And, we'd been there early in the morning, and it was kind of it was a long day as tailgating goes. And that was
Mark was doing a live remote from the stadium.
Well, no. It was close, but after the game, we ran to the Harp because we needed more water and
more libations.
Yes, we went there. And on the way home, the story goes, I don't remember this part. There was a talk show at the time, 1100. We're doing the Browns pre or post game, and they refer to the fans as soccer hooligans of Europe. I got deeply offended, so I called into the show. And I had a few beers in me. Next thing I was told is we go live to Mark in the West Side, and I was snoring live on the air. I fell asleep on hold. So I never got to vent about the soccer hooligans, but that was my first ever Browns game. So there you go. I fell asleep because I was just tired. It was a long walk from the stadium to the Harp.
It was. It's such a long walk. I know. It's just where's a man out?
Yeah. So anyhow, that's that. There you go. There's 5 minutes of your life you'll never get back, and so we'll talk about it one other time. So
Andy, would you like to give us another tune?
Sure. Yeah. What would you like? I have nothing really on.
You're the artist.
Do you want an old song or a original song, or if you request or anything?
Whatever you wish.
Give us an original, Andy.
Yeah, give us one of your songs.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I probably should, because my wife keeps saying I never play my own songs. I don't play enough.
There you go. That was a vote in the background for one of your songs. So
I think you just said original. Yeah.
Original. Okay. Yeah, I'll play a song because I've got enough. I should probably plug. I'll take this moment to plug my upcoming album. It's nearly finished, but I'm going to be releasing a little album that I'm recording at the minute. I'm trying to take advantage of this lockdown to do a little recording or get it finished anyway, because I've been plugging away at it for a while.
Well, when you get it released, we would love to do, after this COVID-19 and the social distancing, we would love to sit down and do a podcast, and you can premiere your album, and we'll do our best to push it out there for you.
We could do a live launch party at 5 Points, and
that would be great.
Hosted by Product Collective, the event planners they are, so they can put the event together. Conor can host it. Andrew can sing at it. We'll show up and talk. There we go.
Right.
Great. Yeah. And
we got the hard part.
And I was lucky enough to have. I'm sure you know Mary's Lane, the band.
Oh yes.
Lane.
Oh, big time, yeah.
So you probably know Tessa Thistlethwaite and Mark, the drummer, Mark Whelan Jr.
Yeah, Mark Whelan,
yes.
right?
Yeah. They've played with me on this album, so.
Oh, very good.
We could get them to play at the little launch party as
there
well,
we go.
maybe, and have a proper little gig.
They're good people.
Yeah. So let's see. Do you want a low key one or an upbeat?
Whatever you wish. It's your gig.
Okay, I'll play this. Maybe this is suitable for these confusing times. Whenever everything seems a bit dark, and I don't know, we're trying to get through these weird, unusual, confusing times. This is called "Searching for the Sun." Hope you like it. If I can remember it. The sun was shining through the trees. I feel the air, the coldest breeze. Now what has begun? Searching for the sun. Darkness came with nightfall. Just came in and took it all. So now I'm on the run, searching for the sun. When the day did first appear, the nighttime was its only fear. Now the shadow holds a gun, searching for the sun. I give up hope, I can't go on. The war was fought, the night is won. The war was fought, the light is gone. I'll never find the sun. Day fall through, the nighttime came and swallowed you. Even though there's nothing left to do, carry on. We will carry on. Now the stars shine through the trees. I'm on my own, I'm on my knees. I'm still on the run, searching for the sun. I'm growing weak, I must be strong. In the dark, I don't belong. So forever we will run, searching for the sun. Searching for the sun.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Very good, Andrew.
Well, I would like to ask one question of all four of you gentlemen. Being that you made this fantastic, scary, brave journey over here to start a new life in America, what is your funny impression of Cleveland, Ohio that you didn't expect? Give me just one little perspective of that life here in America that you're like, wow, what the hell is that about? Anybody?
Don't all answer at once.
We're all scratching our chins.
Well, you know, I'm surprised. It's a lack of surprise, really, but it's how normal it is, how familiar I am with how things are here compared to home in Ireland. You know, I'm not. It's not that much of a culture shock to be here, and I think it's down to the fact that the people are really decent, and the places where we live are beautiful, and during the summer it's just the best place to be in the world, you know. So,
yeah, winter's horrible.
Yeah, the winter's a piece of
close your eyes, go to sleep. Yeah.
Right.
I know, but seriously, the biggest shock for me is that there is no shock. You know, there's no culture shock at all.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
I didn't realize how big the healthcare sector is in Cleveland. You know, the Cleveland Clinic. You know, we have world leaders coming into this city to get like operations done. It just seems like I was like never expected. I just didn't expect like how many jobs are linked to it, and you know how important it is in the city to have like all the different healthcare the hospitals in the city, and so that was a surprise for me. I had no idea about that when I moved here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely a great city. I mean, again, I love bringing people here, especially, you know, dealing with the Irish consulate and stuff. A lot of times they're going to Chicago, they're going to DC, they're going to New York. And a lot of times, like, guys, we have people in Cleveland, we have companies in Cleveland that are international headquarters here. You have Sherwin-Williams, you have Eaton Corporation, all these big companies here that are world headquarters. You know, they're here in Cleveland, and why wouldn't you want to do business in Cleveland, right? Or why would a Cleveland company not want to do business in Ireland? So it's always doing a two-way street of introductions, you know. So, and Conor, I meant to mention earlier, I forgot. Obviously, the coffee shop's back open now, right? With under new regulations and stuff. So is that correct? You guys are back up for business and
Yeah. We opened back up on May 1st, Mark. We luckily have a takeout window. It's a walk-up window, so that's been working great. Like honestly, as I was kind of alluding on earlier on, people like supporting small business. It's been absolutely fantastic. Our numbers are like really, really good.
Wow.
Who knows like what we'll see in a couple of months, but so far so good. And hopefully we'll get to a stage where we'll open up the patio next, and then slowly phase in, one step at a time. Making sure that everyone's safe, customers are safe, staff are safe. Following the correct protocols. But we've been having a really good time. It's just nice. I think we can all kind of like relate to this, like trying to get back into some sort of routine is needed. And so we may continue.
I'm sure, Paul, you're the same way now too. Obviously, being in the event planning space and events have taken a major hit. Everything's gone virtual. How are you guys adapting to that? I mean, that's obviously you got to change a little bit of the business model, I assume.
Yeah, so we our Irish event was on March 9th through the 11th in the RDS in Dublin. And so we arrived in the Friday beforehand, and we were hearing some things, but at that time, even knowing what we know now, it was just, we were so ignorant to what was going to come around the corner. Yeah. And we were thinking we're going to be fine. And the Irish government was saying that there was no need to ban mass gatherings and all that business. And so it got to a point where we pulled off our event on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. And the next day when we were to fly out, they banned mass gatherings. Yeah. Donald Trump banned travel from Europe that night.
Well, I'll tell you, I was at a dinner that night in DC. And the Taoiseach was in the room. Nancy Pelosi was in the room. She left the stage quickly, and that's when the announcement was made about the year. We were in a room full of Irish people who were suddenly all of a sudden rebooking their flights during the dinner. And it was just amazing how it all came so fast,
I got a call at 3 a.m. from my business partner, who's American's wife, saying she couldn't get in touch with him. So you got to get up, you got to go to the airport. He's banned travel. And it turned out that it didn't apply, first of all, to Irish people. Yeah. It didn't apply to anybody anybody who is a citizen, who I am now. And it didn't apply to anybody who wasn't flying before the end of Friday. So there's
2 days notice. Yeah.
But there was so much lack of information within that hour.
Oh, it's crazy.
It the crap out of us. Anyway, so when we got back just in time, we pulled off the event, which was amazing. But the event that we do in Cleveland in September, we had to cancel altogether. But it's amazing what we're doing it right now, the Zoom stuff. We're going to do our entire conference online using Zoom type technologies, and people are buying tickets to it. We're probably going to have about 2,000 people buy tickets to our virtual event in September.
Good for you.
So it's fantastic. Yeah,
let us know if you have any details, we can share those too. Even the Irish network, if there's of interest there, we can get the word out through the network as well. It's all through the different chapters, Well,
that'd be fantastic. Go to industryconference.com. So it's a conference all about building software products. So it'll be, useful to a lot of people, I think.
All right. And then Andrew, finally from you, just obviously keep us updated on the release of the new album. And where can people find details of your upcoming gigs that are hopefully going to happen soon and all that good stuff?
So on Facebook, you can look on Facebook, and it's just Andrew McManus Musician. My wife actually wrote this out for me because I always get the website wrong. She handed this to me just as we were starting.
Very good.
So there's the websites.
My wife made mine for us too.
Yeah, there you go. McManus. Was it say McManusmusic.com? That's the website. And probably Facebook is keeps you up to date with events. And I don't know when I'll start doing live gigs again. I know some places are starting. I'll probably leave it a little while until things have settled down a bit more. But I know there's a lot of full-time musicians, a lot of musicians out there that are, it's not my full-time gig. I really feel for all the, the full-time musicians and stuff. So
sure.
I'm looking forward to getting it up and running. But but in the meantime, I'll be doing the odd little Facebook live video or the odd little gig online. And yeah, a lot of I'd say check out all the local musicians like that are doing these Facebook Live gigs, and you know, and tip them when they're playing and stuff, because you know they're really suffering at the minute. And
Yes.
we've got some great Irish musicians in Cleveland, like top notch.
Yeah, New Barleycorn's been doing it. Pat Shepard's been doing it.
Mossy.
Mossy's been
Mossy
doing
man.
a great job. Mossy did 7 shows in 7 days, and you know,
7 drunk nights.
right. And then Mary's Lane, they had some stuff going on there. You know, the only one local that I haven't really seen online yet is Bridges Cross, but I know Paulie B and Peggy are kind of laying low. I do want to reach out to them and touch them, because we talked to Richie last week or 2 weeks ago. When was it? I don't remember. But yeah, so it's tough on people that are full-time musicians, because they don't have that. You know, they're contract employees. They're 1099 employees. So they're suffering, as my wife is, because she has her own business, trying to get that unemployment thing worked out, and it's just it's a total mess with the state of Ohio. So, but anyways, I would like to plug at 5 Points Coffee and Tea. That's for Conor. That's his place. At Andrew McManus Musician. That's Andy's place. And at Cleveland Collective. That's Paul's place. So you can reach these fellas there.
It is now. Yeah.
What's that, Paul?
I know. No, you can find me at Yaboya. YABOYA. Go on,
Okay.
Yaboya.
There you go.
Oh, you're your boy. Okay.
Oh, yeah, boy,
So, in one parting question, I would like to ask you, gentlemen, collectively, all 4 of you, the Cleveland girls you married. Cleveland girls have spunk, and I would love to do another show with you gentlemen and your spouses, because that's the real story.
Yeah.
I know my Cleveland wife has a lot of spunk, and she's too shy to ever come on the show, but I would love to do a show with you guys and get your spouses in here. What is the thing that is most Cleveland you feel about her, and where she just like puts a smack down on you and like, nope, this is it? And we're all married men, so we know that happens.
Well,
Could
my
be getting us
wife,
in trouble now.
yeah.
Yep,
yeah.
Pick our
absolutely.
words carefully.
Isn't the show over?
It's positive. Yeah, and my wife is Puerto Rican and Irish, so she has the fire of a Puerto Rican and the, I don't know what it is of the Irish person, but
Bless you, my son.
she's a both communities are decent. You know, they're just decent island
Yes, they are.
people.
Yes,
And so I've been blessed with both. So yeah,
good.
I think I got away with that one. Whew.
Yeah. I was going to use that. I was going to use that answer.
Well,
Yeah, I think
gentlemen,
the Cleveland people, in general, what I've worked out is they're like real hard working, grinding, blue collar, down to earth people, and they work hard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they
it
do.
actually shocked me when I started working at the firm here. The pace of work, it was something I was playing a bit of catch up. Well, first of all, I was trying to work out what inches and feet were, stuff like that. But the hard-working people,
0.3048 is 1 foot, or 1.3048 meters is 1 foot.
something like I've given up even converting. I've just decided.
Yeah, I hope Andy, you know that.
3.3 feet is a meter. So
Google
it's easy to convert.
Google it. Yeah.
Ask your kids. Yeah.
Right. Hey, square yards divide by 9, cubic yards divide by 27. That's it.
I'll take your word for it. So that's good. So all right. Well, I think we're it's about 8:15, Jimmy. So we're quite a bit over time. That's okay. This was a good conversation.
Yes, it was. And thank you, gentlemen, for your time. It was such a pleasure to sit down and talk with you fellas. I look forward to actually shaking your hand face to face. So
Yeah, and we'll definitely follow back up with you guys with the wine show and live launch the album launch for Andrew, and we'll be back again. Just looking here, Jimmy, too, online. A lot of comments tonight. Thanks for everyone for listening, and a special shout out to Brian Masterson, who's been our avid listener every week. And then
Big Brian.
Jimmy, you'll be shocked to hear that Kathy Hogan is watching this on Bookface.
Oh my God, she
Yeah,
doesn't even do Bookface. So
Yeah, that's why my 2 kids are down with her right now, showing her how to do it. So hi to everyone there. So anyway, all right, guys, we'll be back next Thursday. 7 o'clock again, and
Yep.
we'll announce the next guest here in the next day or two, and we'll kind of appreciate everyone checking in. And guys, thanks for joining us tonight. This was great.
And the Kitchen Party, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Sign up for our emails and alerts about our podcast. And if there's anything out in our audience wants to hear, drop us a line. We'll talk about anything, or we'll investigate anything. We have big plans for the future, but COVID-19 put that on hold. We want to do more live stuff like with Andy with the music. That was our main focus when we started this, but COVID-19 hit, and so we just have to improvise. But thank you, gentlemen, for your time. It's a pleasure meeting you. I look forward to shaking your hands in person. Thank you, Mark. Always
a pleasure, guys.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks for having us on.
All right, guys, we'll talk soon, okay?
See you, Andy. See you, Paul.
All right, take care. Thanks.
Gentlemen, stay safe. God bless you.